right, Miami and Clemson. Joe, this is an interesting one to me because I do think that these teams, I'm not going to say they're identical, but both have the same records, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't look at the record, but statistically is what I mean. They are a lot of alike.
They do both have 2 losses, though. They do both have 2 losses.
They do both have 2 losses. Miami is 7th in the country offensively in total offense. Did you know that?
I did. 14th passing offense, 9th. Sorry, 9th rushing defense. But yes, they're one of the top teams offensively.
Do you know that if they eliminated just half of their turnovers, they could be number 1?
Yeah, I believe that.
I know that you talk about Tyler Van Dyke.
Yeah, wait, be more specific. If they could limit Tyler Van Dyke's turnovers.
Well, it's not just him.
It's usually him. He's the typical
It's usually
culprit.
him.
Yeah.
Did you know if this continued, there would be a team never in the top 10 of total offense with as many turnovers as Miami? Clemson, on the other hand, dude, their defense, top 5 in the country, offense 37. But you know what else is a problem for them? Turnovers. How many? What is the over/under in this game of how many times this team is going to turn the football over?
You mean both of them? Just general overall? There could be at least 5.
Over under 3.5.
I'd maybe go as far as 4 or 5.
Listen, Dabo. By the way, did you hear Dabo's comments this week about? Do you want
to
talk really quickly?
I quote tweeted that, and I'm so sick of the guy, man. That is the most loser. I'm tired of the heat mentality. When you set the precedent for winning and being a good coach, God forbid that your fans are upset that you've lost 2 football games by September. It's ridiculous, man. The guy makes so many excuses. Him and Shane Beamer this week. That's why I don't like either of them. Stop making excuses, own up to your deficiencies, and become a better football team. It's not that freaking hard.
Well, look, he's got a decision he's got to make. He's going to have to start going into the portal.
I doubt he does. He's so stubborn.
He is a little too stubborn. He's going to have to go there. But, Joe, you know what? I'm picking him this week. I'm taking Clemson. I do think that they are the overall better team right now. Okay, defensively, they are as good as their comes. I do think that they have found a little something offensively in this running game. I think their receivers have played a lot better than what we anticipated, or at least, well, definitely more than I anticipated. I think you too. You thought that the receivers were not going to play well. They're 37th in total offense. Both teams turn the ball over. I'm just going to lean Dabo here. I think they run the ball at a more effective rate. I saw what UNC was able to do, but I don't trust this game either, and I don't trust Clemson because they have made the most boneheaded decisions that I've seen in quite some time. They put it on a good Syracuse team. Miami, their best win under Cristobal is against a very failing A&M team. So how good are they? We'll have to wait and see. I think you're leaning Miami on this one, correct?
Yeah, my going a complete opposite direction as you. I mean, you even hit on it. You even brought up they have daboed every opportunity that they've had to win a football game. You have an opportunity after Miami has had a 2-game slide. And I think it would make sense to sit here and say Mario Cristobal, not the best in-game coach, as we've given him some criticism, that a 2-game slide could turn into 3 against a good Clemson team. But in a shocking turn of events, I'm leaning Miami. Miami fans, I don't hate you. I just hate Clemson more. My thoughts here, though, specifically. Clemson is 121st in yards per reception. They're one of the least explosive teams in the country. But they do not.
What else is that? Can I tell you? They are one of the last in yak yardage.
Yes.
It's not that they're not catching the ball. They don't get any yards after the catch is their massive problem.
They do not have the athletes to consistently stretch the field to pick up extra yards after the catches you're talking about. That to me is very problematic that Miami, I watched them almost come back against North Carolina because they can score in a heartbeat. This to me reminds me or makes me think of the fact that if Miami goes up by 2 scores, I said this last week about Washington going up against Oregon. If Miami goes up goes up a score and a half, whatever it is, 10 points, Clemson does not move the ball efficiently or quickly enough to climb back into it. I know that their defense is good, but I have so much pause to bet on a Clemson offense that is so unexplosive. Not to mention the fact, as you've talked about, it's going to matter a lot if they can run the ball effectively with Will Shipley and company. But the problem is they're going up against a run defense for Miami that is top 20 in multiple categories. 9th in total run defense.
They were number 1 last week, though.
They were 19th in team tackles for loss. I know that last week was brutal, but I think that what helped open up their their running attack is that their passing attack was so difficult to stop that eventually they had to unload the box. That's not going to happen in this game. Box is going to be loaded. Go ahead, Cade. Cade, do whatever you got to do to beat us. Try to run the ball. You're not going to, and we're going to tackle guys as soon as they catch the football.
You know, Clemson has not lost to Miami in Miami since like 1947.
Is that really how long that?
Yeah.
That's,
do you know that Mario Cristobal has not won an ACC game at home?
I knew that. That's disturbing.
I like stuff like that, and it helps me with my picks because I like trends, and I don't think Mario gets over the hump. I don't. Now, if he does, and they do beat Clemson, buddy, there's problems going on in South Carolina. Okay.
Oh, yes.
Dabo might be on the hot seat. Like, they're not going to, and what's so crazy, he's the one that built all this.
Yeah.
I don't know if Klubnik's the dude. Okay. I do wonder what. And look, maybe we just got to give him more time, but look, their performance against Wake Forest last week, although they scored 17 points, I felt like they dominated that whole game because of the way they ran the football. But they only won the game 17-12. Okay.
That's very concerning.
It's concerning, but you know how, like, if you box score watch a game and you're like, yeah, man, Clemson sucks. And then you pop on the film, you're like, God damn, they were running all over them. Why can't they score? Oh, well, there's the turnover. Or, oh, there's the tackle for loss. And you know what Dabo, I make this joke all the time, but you know who Dabo really is turning into? Les Miles. Run the football. I'm going to control the offense. I'm not going to portal what? This isn't the Avengers. You know, like stuff like that. Dabo, pray to Jesus, get this win, because I do trust Dabo more than Cristobal at this point.
That is a triggering point here, is that Dabo has daboed this year a lot. You know, he's bungled against Duke and Florida State. Who do you trust
more?
I know this is like asking, do I give a child a knife or a gun? Like which do I trust to do the least amount of damage? Basically, I can't pick either. I can't. I just lean that if I pull up both of these teams and I look at them, one of them has a little bit more of an offensive advantage over the other.
Not much, though. Because here's another thing. If UNC can get to Tyler Van Dyke and make him turn the ball over, what can this defense do? And you know what else? You know what else? And maybe I'm wrong here. I did see a Clemson team that looked really good against Florida State. And Florida State might be the best team in the country. They went toe-to-toe overtime with Florida State. They're not out of this thing completely yet. Now, they need some help in the ACC. They need some help. I just don't know, man. If UNC can make him do what Tyler Van Dyke did, there's nothing telling me that the fifth best defense in the country can't do it. Joe, did you know that Miami? Okay, here's something crazy for you. This is how bad it's starting to unravel for them defensively. They were the number 1 team in the country last week in total defense. They're number 18 right now.
I mean, one bad performance.
UNC beat that ass.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, but this is my whole point.
Another good defense.
This is my whole point with talking about UNC as we've done over the past couple of weeks. I just think that UNC is that good. I think that they deserve
that bad. Joe, if they lose their third straight game, then what?
I think that, as I've said, I am untrustworthy of Tyler Van Dyke, and I think that game was telling of that. But I think that the rest of this Miami team is just it's a good team, and a even better UNC team knew how to take advantage of those deficiencies. You brought up the Florida State game for Clemson and when they played. Yes, there's so many positives that they took that team to overtime. But I don't think that the way that they played at home, if they play that same way, I don't think that nets them a victory. I just don't. Because what do they do great right now? I understand that their defensive line has been really good and their secondary
play really good defense.
But is their defense that much better than their offense? Because Restrepo and all those,
they held Florida State to under 40 rushing yards. Yeah, they're good. And you know what? You know what they say? What's the old adage? What travels? Defense.
Yeah.
Defense travels. And you have, for months on this show, try to convince me that Tyler Van Dyke is a Dookie stain.
Now all of a sudden I'm talking to him. Well, actually, I haven't talked him up.
You're trying to convince me to take him in another big profile game.
The thing with Florida State, though, that game and how little rushing yards they held them to, right? That has more to do with Florida State's interior offensive line issues that we're starting to see. Because statistically, their offensive line
they're doing it to everybody, though. The only team that they had not done that to is Duke. They're shutting everybody down in the run game. So what then convinces me, okay, if you're shutting down everybody, and I mean literally everybody, so Florida State, they had to win because Jordan Travis, just call it what it is, had to go nuclear. He had to go nuclear, and he did go nuclear, okay? You think Van Dyke's going to do that?
Well, we've seen it. He's got it in his bag, and I think I would even point out right now. You were talking about their
trash-ass A&M secondary. They're last in the SEC right now.
That's true. That's true, but they didn't have any run game in that game, and they still produced through the air. I understand that Clemson's secondary is vastly better than Texas A&M's, but I think that with how bad Clemson's and weak Clemson's offense is, and how the lack of general production, scoring production that they have had over the course of this season, I am concerned. We're just talking about
Georgia Tech.
We just talked about, Blake, how USC and Utah can't keep up with them. I can make that same argument with Clemson and Miami.
Georgia Tech is not as in Georgia. I guarantee you, Georgia Tech does not have the 37 total offense in the country. Clemson's offense is not as bad as you make them out to be.
I think that those numbers are inflated.
By whom? They played
Syracuse. They played Syracuse.
Miami played Georgia Tech. And
those, yes, I understand that. Wait, I'm trying to pull up Clemson's schedule.
And
I get that, but those numbers, we're not that deep into the season where there's like because when they've played moderately
halfway through the year, you're more than halfway through the year.
When they've played decent opponents, their offense hasn't shown up. But yeah, of course they're going to throw up.
That's my point.
Of course,
Miami
they only scored 31 at Syracuse. Syracuse stinks. They put 48 up on FAU and 66 up on Charleston Southern. 17 against Wake Forest, I think, is more realistic of what their offensive output is. Because against Florida State, what did they have against
Florida's a really good, well-coached team.
They're not better than Miami. They're not.
You mean you wouldn't take Wake Forest as head coach over Cristobal right now?
Oh, I would take Clausen over Cristobal. I think that he's very underrated. But at the same time, I compare those two rosters. One's much more talented than the other. 24 points against Florida State. The most offensive production that they have had in these games against these good P5 opponents is 31. And none of that production comes from receivers.
They had more than 30 points on Clemson, didn't they?
No, I thought it was more. I thought it was in the 40s. It was only 31-14.